All right, looking good.
Looking good.
I'll give us a little
I'll give us a
countdown,
little
3, 2,
countdown,
1, and
3, 2, 1, and here we go.
hello, everybody.
Hello,
Welcome back to
everybody.
another
Welcome to
episode
another
of Rapid
episode
Results
of
with
Rapid
Andrew
Results
Weiss.
with
We
Andrew
have a
Weiss. We
wonderful
have a
guest today,
wonderful guest
the
today,
Master
the
Connector,
Master
Steve
Connector,
Spiro.
Steve Spiro.
In case you don't know who the
If you
Steve
don't know
guy
who the
is,
Steve
he
guy
started
is,
his
he
first
started
company right
his
out of
first
college in
company right out of college in
advertising.
advertising.
Additionally, he holds a fourth
Additionally, he
degree
holds a
black
fourth
belt in
degree black belt
karate and first
in
degree
karate and first
jiu-jitsu,
degree
having
jiu-jitsu, having
including having his own
including
karate
having his
studio.
own karate
He
studio.
contributes much of his
Contributes much of his
successes to a strong
success
work
to
ethic, a
strong work
can-do,
ethic,
never
a
quit
can-do,
attitude of
never quit
discipline,
attitude,
integrity, and
discipline,
fearlessness that
integrity,
he
and
cultivated
fearlessness
in
that
martial
he
arts.
cultivated in martial
He's a
arts.
master
He's a
connector with over
master connector with
41,000
over
contacts.
41,000
He has a
contacts.
LinkedIn Live
He's a
broadcast
LinkedIn
every
Live
week called the
broadcast
Master
every week
Connector
called
Show.
Master Connector
He
Show.
eventually pivoted
He
from
eventually
advertising
pivoted
into
from advertising
technology
into
and now is a business
technology and now is
automation
a business
consultant.
automation
And he
consultant.
recently published
And
a
he
book,
recently
The Tao
published
of a
a book,
Master
The Power
Connector,
of
the way an
the Way
introvert became a
an
master
Introvert
connector.
became a Master
He's
Connector.
big on
He's big
self-development
on
and loves to inspire
self-development and
people
loves
out
to
of their
inspire
comfort
people out of
zone
their
too through
comfort
speaking
zone too,
engagements.
speaking
Steve,
engagements.
welcome to the
Steve,
show. Tell us what's the biggest and best business deal
biggest
you're most proud of.
that you're most proud of.
Wow. I mean, well, thank you again. What's going on, friend? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. It's just a signature. I got to say it. So, hey, obviously, I've had a lot of accomplishments, and I don't really look at one. I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for. I don't look at one. I mean, having a company out of college was a big, accomplishment. Having get my double black belt in karate studio was a big accomplishment. Pivoting into technology sales of all things, being an introvert, that was an accomplishment. And then going on to be inspirational keynote speaker, that was accomplishment. So I don't have one that's like the defining moment. Sorry to disappoint, but that's just it's all been a series of steps for me on this journey that they call life.
No, I love that.
Yeah, I love that.
So you definitely have a very
So you
inspiring
definitely a very
story
inspiring
of
story
growing up and
of
having
growing up and
these
having these
learning
learning
disadvantages of being
disadvantages
shy,
of
being
being shy,
introverted,
being
and now
introverted,
who you are, the
and
master
who you
connector
are,
with
the
over
master connector with
41,000
over
contacts.
41,000 contacts.
Tell us what is
Tell
that
us
tipping
what
point
is
that
that
allowed you to
tipping
get out
point
of
that
your
allowed you to get
introvert
out of
shell
your
per se?
introvert shell per se?
I mean, it's again a series, right? So for what happened, and I've learned that it's never an event; it's always a process. So I've got a mentor in my life, and he's preached that to me over the years, and I see it now. I believe it. But I mean, getting out of college and then starting a company, that was a piece of the pie where I'm an owner, right? So it added to some confidence level. Then I went up, and I had to present ideas to clients. So there was a little bit of that going on, right? And then parallel to that, martial arts, being in front of the room as a black belt, I started talking to some people. That was a little easier because I saw my sensei, my karate instructor, speaking up on in front of the room, and I just basically heard him over and over and over again, and I knew kind of what to say, so that helped a bit too. And when you're in a defined role like that, I kind of knew my role. And then eventually into tech sales and all that, and that was interesting, right? Being able to you know at one point knocking on doors, that was crazy, right? Shifted on that, and not what I expected. But the biggest pivotal point, I would say, was meeting a mentor who has now been an incredible blessing. And he challenged me and he said, Steve, I understand you're an introvert, but you need to meet three strangers every day. And I don't know. I'm sure your audience is pretty diverse around the country, around the world. But in New York, which is where I'm from, you talk to strangers, you're going to get shot, kidnapped, or killed. But I did it. It stretched me, got me out of my comfort zone, and I started to really develop as a human, and started to be comfortable and grow a network. And so, and through all that, started to grow as a human, grow as a person, and I started to see how being others focused and leading with my vulnerability started to help. And it took, because when I was me focused, talking to people, it just, I was so self conscious. But when it became others focused and looked for ways to add value, that's when things started to change for me. And now I love being on stage. I mean, it's scary, and it's like nerve wracking. But when I'm out there, on the big stage, inspiring people. I mean, the rush is incredible, and the sense of how you've made an impact on people is unbelievable.
No, I love that. That's amazing. I love the hearing the passion in your voice and talking about that. So tell me, what do most people get wrong when it comes to connecting with others? Because I know connecting with at least three people a day isn't always the easiest thing, especially if you're in New York and you get shot, kidnapped, or killed. So, what are some good strategies for connecting with others?
Yeah, I mean, the first is mindset, right? It's kind of making sure that you're not coming to the table with an agenda, right? So, and I now include LinkedIn as a piece of that three. But yesterday I physically met three people out and about in the community, two at the gym and one at in an office environment type of situation. So, but it's not, it's number one, it's just being, not going out there with an agenda. Number two, it's just basically allowing the person to kind of tell you about themselves, right? And I've learned by reading the book or listening to the book How to Win Friends and Influence People multiple times, that a person's most favorite topic is themselves. Their most favorite word in the entire world is their name, right? So just knowing that, going out there and just starting conversations, and you just see how people react. If it's kind of like you go to pet a dog, if it's a golden retriever, it's probably going to be like, excited to want to interact with you. If it's a Doberman Pinscher or a pit bull, depending. Although pit bulls are really beautiful, and I love pit bulls, but some of the ones that were like maybe wounded or damaged, they're like, "Arr," right? So people are like that too. I'm not comparing them to dogs, but in a way I am, right? So you get one of three reactions when you talk to people. You get the positive, like Doberman and the golden retriever response, or you get kind of the cat response where they don't care, just walk away, or you get the third one, which is the Doberman type of response. And either one is fine. It's not, I don't take it personal, and I just start. So it's just being in enough places where you're around people, start conversations, see where they go. And then, the first conversation I had yesterday that led to a new connection, I just commented, I said, "Hey, are you in the military?" Because he had this high and tight sort of hairstyle, and that opened up to a very nice conversation. And at the end of that conversation, after I found out where he's from, what he does, a little bit of that, we dug in deep on those topics. So we should stay in touch. In fact, he wanted to get my contact information because when he asked what I do, and I told him, he was pretty intrigued. So anyway, but 98% of the conversation is that person talking, not me talking, right? So it's just opening up your mouth, saying something. It doesn't have to be clever. Just say something. And then on LinkedIn, I just, when I'm reaching out to people, I know you and I connected that way, and I'm not looking to, it's always how do I add value, right? That's the initial, idea. How can I add value? Let's get on a call. Let's see how we can, help each other, collaborate, and then of course, we see how it goes from there. And that's exactly what I do, and how to meet people, three strangers every day.
No, I love that, and I love how you're able to like predict the future in some way. That when you're going to talk with people or connect with them, you're probably going to get one of three reactions, and so hopefully that relieves your nerves a little bit, saying, okay, they're going to be happy towards me back, or they're going to be like a cat and walk away, or they're going to treat me like a pit bull. At least I know what to expect, and then you adjust accordingly. So I feel like that helps
Exactly.
take off the stress a little bit, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so I also know you've been very consistent about connecting with at least two people per day, either online or in person. And one thing I love is the power of accountability. So how do you hold yourself accountable to do this? Like, what happens if the day got ahead of you? It's 10 p.m. at night. You only connect with one person that day. Do you like make your wife force you to get online right then and there, message two other people? Like, how do you hold yourself accountable to all this?
At this point, it's become part of my DNA, right? Like, I'll ask you a question. Andrew, have you ever missed a day brushing your teeth?
A few here and there, yeah, but not many.
But
Yeah.
you don't need to have somebody hold you accountable to brush your teeth. You've
Mhm.
kind of developed a habit. So I've developed a habit. I learned a lot of times people ask, how do you stay motivated to do that? And I just developed enough motivation, just long enough to create the habit, and then I let the habit do its thing. So I just do it every day, and I have a series of things that I do daily. It's a habit stack, great book. Well, not only the compound effect, but um, the oh shoot, there's another one called Habits. I'm blanking right now on the topic of the book, the title of the book, but it talks about habit stacking. And basically what I do is in the morning, part of my routine, making coffee, and I go through a whole, things from stretching to working out to, reading and listening and all that kind of stuff. And part of it is connecting on LinkedIn. So it's just something I do daily. And, I heard, one of my mentors said years ago, control the controllables, right? If you do it early in the day, you have control. As the day goes on, if you don't, right? So I'm pretty accountable because it's part of my routine. That's my daytime social media type approach, and throughout the day, as people responding, obviously I'm able to respond back. I mean, that's easy to do because I'm kind of a little OCD. If there's a unread message, I don't like that, so I stay on top of stuff. So that's easy. And then at 5 o'clock, I leave the house. I work remote. I leave the house, head to the gym. It's just what I do every day. 5 o'clock, I head to the gym. Um, and so, yeah, has there been a few days like you with the brushing of the teeth? There's been a couple days I have not hit my goal, but for the most part, I'm very consistent. And I'm also, not hard on myself. The goal is to meet three strangers every day. Um, I probably average about two. So, but if my goal was two, I'd probably average one.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Just if you're gonna dream, might as well dream big, and
Yeah.
why, yeah, shoot for the stars and land on the moon. So I love that.
Yep.
And then I also know you help a lot of people with business automation, and so tell us more about that. How you do that? Love to learn more about that.
Yeah. I mean, that one, I'll just keep it very light because it's a very complex thing. And it's highly unreferable. If anyone's hearing it, I probably can't help you. But it's fascinating. It's in the communication space. It's customer experience and customer journey mapping, and we also get involved in outbound shipping, inbound, incoming, receiving of parcels. I mean, it's all over the place. It's not easy to put in a single box. So I just like to say I do business automation and keep the focus on my speaking.
Well, I mean, I love artificial intelligence. Like, is the automation around AI, or you're just talking about like helping with processes and computer systems on the back end, or what
All the
category?
above.
All of that.
All the above. All the above. Yeah. I mean, there's some machine learning is involved in that. There's some, software tools that help automate stuff, but it's a combination. Yeah, and definitely business process automation for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, and then obviously there's a lot of people out there who want to be on stages, who want to be speaking more. So tell us when well, first of all, what's one of your strategies to successfully get booked on stages more often? Because I know everyone wants to learn how to do that. So what tips would you provide to those who want to get on more stages?
Yeah, I mean, being on podcasts, posting daily is a big thing I'm doing. And one of the things I'm starting to do, and I had this amazing, I had this scissor reel produced, which I'm so proud of. It came out really good. The two guys that helped me with it are incredibly talented. Alex Siwick, if you happen to look him up, but he's incredibly talented. And he had his buddy who's a still photographer, Dylan, with him. So I got some really good video footage and some really good stills. So the posts I'm doing daily, most of the post visuals have a shot from some of these still photos that I did of me on stage. So it's subliminally making that connecting that message, right? My profile, the sizzle reel. I mean, there's a few strategies that I have. But when I'm connecting with people, everyone that I speak to knows my goal is to be on a TEDx stage. and eventually then that's the sort of stepping stone for the real goal, which is to be paid to travel the world, speak and inspire and be a beacon of light. And so I'm doing about probably roughly 3 or so, 3 to 4, sometimes 5 Zoom meetings every single day. Try to do them, outside of normal working hours, before or after work, or maybe during lunchtime, so it's not conflicting with all the things I have going on. But when I do that, and I'm speaking, like I was on with a lady that I didn't know where this was going to go. I mean, and I don't have any expectations when I'm on these calls. But at the end of the tail end of our call, she's like, "I want to hire you as a speaker for my conference I have coming up." Okay, sure. And so that's gonna be at the end of August. So it's just fun, right? But just planting good seeds, and then you speak to the universe, speak to people what you're looking to accomplish. It's out there, obviously, on LinkedIn. Making sure you have a good profile. I've recently refined my profile title a little bit, just to be a little bit more clear on what I'm looking to do. And I think a combination of those things. I do networking. Andrew, I think you experienced some of that. So my soundbite is pretty specific on what I want, right? I don't just say I'm a nice guy, connect with me, but I speak about what I'm looking to do. And so again, you speak about very clearly what you want, and the universe cooperates. Obviously, people get behind your goals, especially when you're clear on what you're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, for all your reach outs, the 41,000 connections, is that you reaching out, or is that one of your automation systems reaching out?
So the truth is, that's sort of a cumulative, and that number is probably low these days, because it's a combination of my cell phone, which is 18,000 contacts on my phone. It's probably closer to 20, and then 18,000 on LinkedIn. So it's, yeah, I don't know what the final count of that is, but it's probably more than 41. But most of my reach outs are through LinkedIn, because there's a lot of overlap on my cell phone. People that I connect with, that I meet out and about, that get into my cell phone, I also try to connect with them on LinkedIn. But yeah, the point of that is it's reach outs. I'm doing a post every single day. Whoever is connected with me on LinkedIn, is probably going to see my post, right? I use it's not the automation tool, but the tool that LinkedIn has, which is happy birthday, congrats on your job change, congrats on your work anniversary. And then they added one now for graduating a college. So I click, I think they're calling it now catch up, is what they're calling it on the LinkedIn app on the phone. So I use it every day. That's part of my routine, right? So I'm hitting the button, and when somebody responds to me, so I'm physically hitting the button. It's not automation, but there is automation in a sense that it's already, LinkedIn has the list of people. All you got to do is hit the button, but it's a combination. But when somebody responds and says thank you, then I have a message that I use, and you could say it's automation. It's nothing that sophisticated, but based on what I've said to them last, I have shortcuts I use on my iPhone. And basically I just send a message that I customize a little bit. And again, all those messages are mostly geared to get on a call, because again, I feel like the magic happens after, outside of the platform, right? In traditional networking, whether it's in person or on Zoom, the magic happens in the follow-up. The magic happens after, right? On LinkedIn, you're connected on LinkedIn. It's great, but the magic happens when you take it offline and you get on a call or a Zoom call, whatever. So to me, that's the secret sauce there. So that's what I do. So the reach outs are a combination of posts daily and using some of the tools that LinkedIn has.
No, I love that. And that's so smart. It's one of my favorite life hacks, is using those keyword shortcuts. Like, rather than having to type in my address each time, I just type it in once and put next time I put in my address, put H1, and then boom, types up my whole address, or my email address. Rather than type that whole thing, it's to E1, boom. So I definitely love those keyboard shortcuts for sure.
For sure. Yeah. That's what it's called, a shortcut, or whatever you called it. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And the next question I wanted to ask was, imposter syndrome always seems to be a big theme in people that they believe holds them back, why they can't accomplish more. So tell us, how do you battle imposter syndrome as you grow your business and your influence, and what are your thoughts on that?
I'll let you know when I've gotten over it. But no, I mean,
Yeah.
the truth is a big part of my journey, my personal journey has been interesting, right? I was in a very dark place, shy and introverted, picked on, bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic, and a low self-esteem, really low self-esteem. And I played the comparison game, and I always lost, right? I always looked at other people. I would look at you, Andrew, and I'm like, he's got a great set of hair, he's got the beard, or he's confident, or whatever. And I always felt, yeah, exactly. And I always felt like I wasn't enough. And I finally started to get comfortable within my own skin and feel that I really am good enough. I'm good. I have a lot of value. And so I don't, imposter syndrome doesn't happen that much. It has been a journey on the speaker side. I'm part of I guess it's a mastermind group on Zoom, a guy named John Colby, who's an incredible speaker. And he's been a mentor for me in speaking these days. But he hosts this mastermind group on Friday at 2 p.m. EST. And I'll be honest with you, there were times that I got on there and I'm like, I don't fit in here, right? But I just pushed through it, and I do belong on there. And having a speaker reel helped me, because action really, really, cures fears, right? And just take action. So my action was, I'm gonna do a speaker reel, and I'm gonna do a speaker reel that showcases me on stage. And when I watch my speaker reel, I'm like, that guy's a pretty good guy. He's probably a great speaker, right? Like, but so that helped me too. And just again, speaking, self-talk is extremely important. What you want, speaking it not only to people but to yourself. And then I'm sure there's other things you could do, but those have been big things. So just taking action. Again, I learned it years ago, and I think it's the book Magic of Thinking Big, where it says action cures fears.
No, I love that. That percent, and that's what I've heard of. One possible thing about imposter syndrome is, like, if you think you're an imposter, probably because you're not doing it enough. So I'm sure if you were to get on stage 1,000 times, you're like, I think I know how to get on stage by now. So yeah, sometimes it's repetition. So next question I want to know is, so what, obviously you're working on getting on stages, you want to impact, influence more people, show them that it is possible to go from shy and introvert to being a master connector, talking to 3 people per day. What is one of the end games you're working on that you're looking forward to achieving someday? I was watching that video with you and Ed and Elise, and they talked about that in the Bible, that those who don't have vision shall perish.
Yep.
So I'm curious what your vision is, what your end game is. Tell us about that.
Yeah. My vision is really to travel the world. I love and inspiring people and being a beacon of light. And that is really totally the ultimate for me, right? It's what's true success? To me, it's we make good money, we have some nice things, we live in a beautiful place in the water. That's not what, we drive nice cars. That does not define me. What true success, what true success is how many people are better off because you were here. And so my goal is to, I've always loved traveling. Me and my wife Liz got bit by the travel bug years ago, and so travel is fun. Love food, big foodie. Nothing better than traveling and eating great food, traveling the world. But if you could inspire people, travel and put those two together, to me, that's the big thing. So that's really what the goal is, to be, hey, somebody in Australia reaches out, hey, we want to have you here. We're going to pay for your trip, and we're going to pay you an honorarium of whatever. And you come to Australia? Sure. Yeah. And the cool thing is I have the ability to bring my wife with me. And, not only will we be speaking for maybe an hour, whatever the requirement is, but we'll probably make a week of it or 2 weeks of it and enjoy being out there, like that kind of thing. And now that I'm not an introvert, well, I'm still technically an introvert, but it doesn't stop me from talking to people, not just touching people's lives on stage, but when you're out and about, you can actually put your hands on someone's shoulder and say, hey, man, you're awesome. And when I learn more about them, hey, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And just uplift and inspire them. And to me, that's really why we're on this planet. In fact, our show later today at 1 o'clock today is topic titled, "Are you a true difference maker?" And so it's a big part of what I'm about and my mission, which is really to impact people.
Yeah, that's show is every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern on LinkedIn, right?
On LinkedIn, we also simulcast, we broadcast live on YouTube and on the Phoenix National Network. But we also, once it's broadcasted, it then resides afterwards on Spotify and Apple Podcast as well as a traditional podcast.
Oh, I love that. And now that you've told us about your end game a little bit, traveling the world, being a speaker, taking your wife everywhere, based on your success so far, what do you think are the non-negotiable actions as an entrepreneur to be successful?
Integrity. You must operate by integrity. Your word is your bond, right? Making sure that what you do and what you say line up, and not only what you do and what you say in the public, but in your private life, right? And I've seen, you mentioned Ed, but I've seen that's how they live their life, and just incredible. So yeah, just integrity is number one. And then, again, being others focused, right? Being a go-giver. I love the book by Bob Berg, The Go-Giver, Bob Berg and John David Mann. We've had Bob on our show. I love the mentality of looking to help others first. And when I was so broken and wounded, I mean, my TEDx talk eventually will be, in our weakness, there's power, because I was so broken and wounded. I was inward focused. I was self-focused. When you're wounded, only you're doing and thinking about self-preservation. But the minute I was starting to get healed and became others focused and led with those vulnerabilities, I saw that I became powerfully confident, and the connections became powerful. And so that's the premise of my talk. But being, number one, being others focused, and number two, being vulnerable, right? And not being afraid to share my weaknesses and my vulnerabilities and some of the things that I've had and struggled with, because I believe that breaks barriers down, tears walls down. A big talk that I like to speak to on stage is, in this complex digital era, how do we break barriers to create true connection, true human connection? Because I believe that's a big challenge, right? The digital era is great. It's connected us all, but it's created a lot of barriers. The screen is a barrier, and people hide behind it, right? We've heard the phrase text muscles, right? Like people have beer muscles, but people have text muscles. That, like, when they're behind a screen or a phone, they're very, like, kind of bold and almost nasty. But when you're face to face with them, they're not like that,
Yeah.
So, but breaking barriers. So that's a big part of it. So again, human connection and being authentic, being others focused. And another one is just, looking to add value, always looking to be a blessing, to add value in everywhere I go. When I do my connect calls, however often it is every day, and you've experienced this, Andrew, right? It's okay. Let me give you like 3 or 4 things that can add value for you with nothing, no ask back in return. And I've had the best 3 financial years of my entire life. And I believe it's because that shift happened right around 3 years ago, where I just said, I'm just going to give, right? In my book, we talk about and I didn't make this up. I heard this or learned this by somebody, but I call it the secret of the corn. You put 3 or 4 kernels of corn in the ground, and, you water the soil, and you tend to it and all that. But eventually 6, 8 months later, a stalk of corn comes up, and you're going to have like 9 or 10 or, ears of corn. And each of those ears of corn have, 100 or so kernels of corn on each. So you're going to get about 1,000 from the 3 or 4 that you planted, right? But when you plant 3 kernels of corn, you get back corn. You don't get back apples, right? You what you reap, you sow. We know that phrase and that biblical principle, the universal principle. But in addition to the law of reciprocity, there's also the law of increasing returns, which is the example of the secret of the corn. So just making sure you're always giving and giving, because what happens is it comes back, and it comes back big and burly. And it may not come back where you exactly planted it, unlike the corn scenario, but it definitely, when you sow and when you plant and when you give, you eventually get back. I've seen it. I'm a living proof of that. And it's pretty amazing. So that's the last point, is really just looking to add value. So being others focused, add value, be authentic, and making sure you're building, you're living your life with integrity and accountability. And those are some non-negotiables for me.
Well, I love that, and that's such a great life lesson too, and such a good visual, because humans are visual learners, and so we know if we just plant a few kernels of corn per day, like sometimes that's all you have to worry about. Just don't worry about anything else. Trust that will grow into a big stock, and like you said, hundreds of kernels after that. I love that.
Can I just add on to that a little bit, if you don't mind,
Of
Andrew?
course.
So, a lot of times people are on the roller coaster of life. And, if you understand the law of sowing and reaping, there's seed time, progression time, and harvest time. And what that means is that you plant the seed and you got to wait 8 or 9 months, whatever that particular seed time is. And then you eventually harvest, right? There's the crop that comes up. And so a lot of times people are in this roller coaster because here's what's happening. They're planting good seed and they're not seeing a harvest because there needs to be progression time. So maybe they're planting good seed every day, like you said, but then maybe a month later, they're like, oh man, this is not happening. Forget it. And they stop. So keep in mind, if they planted for a full month, let's say it's January, but then they stopped in February because they got frustrated. Or maybe they planted January and February, but then maybe they stopped in March. All of a sudden, out of the blue, in June, all of a sudden, harvest comes. Oh, so now they're excited again. And maybe they say, oh, maybe it was because what I did. And they start planting again. But now they're planting. And don't forget, 6 months ago, they did nothing because they got frustrated because they weren't seeing a harvest. So they stopped. So then all of a sudden, there's no harvest because it's 6 months ago where they were not planting. And so there's this roller coaster. So what I've tried to do, because you said it, and I wanted to just spin off what you said, which is every day, plant good seed every day. Don't stop. Keep planting so that the harvest is consistent. It's not a roller coaster.
Well, I love that. And let's see, I might sneeze again. Oh, I think I'm okay. All right. No, and that's such a good reminder too. It's just, and also, sounds like you're a faithful man, so you also believe in tithing and always giving back to charity. I know, my wife and I love watching the show The Chosen right now, and I'm so glad that Jesus and other religions are such big advocates of give back, because believe it or not, you're going to get back more than what you give. So you got to give.
Absolutely. Yeah. So important. So important to those principles. And whether you're a believer, whether you're a Christian, Muslim, Jewish, or none, right? You believe in the universe. The laws, whether you believe in religion or not, those laws are universal laws. You could go on the top of a building and say, I don't believe in gravity. And you could jump off thinking you're going to rise, but you're going to go splat, right? So it's just, these are universal laws. And you follow them. You can call them God's laws. You can call them universal laws, whatever. It's the same. They operate. They're true. You could believe whatever you believe, but the laws are true.
No, I love that. It's so true. And a few questions left. One of those is, as a successful entrepreneur who loves what you do, I mean, besides wanting to travel the world, being a speaker, help others, is there anything else that gets you fired up each day when you start each day to start the day full of passion and fire to another day? Let's go.
I enjoy my morning routine. I call it my morning practice. I wake up and it's pretty rigorous. I wake up, I start the coffee pot. While I'm doing that, I have a audiobook playing. And when I finish that, I make lunch for my wife and I, and for later, get our vitamins, our supplements set up for the later. Get my little drink concoction for later, which has got my muscle multiplier, which kind of gives me a BCAs and all that good stuff. And then I will listen to an audio, some kind of podcast or audio. I listen to that while I'm stretching, and I do a very vigorous workout, 230 sit-ups, push-ups in a row, 230 sit-ups in a row. I do spin for about 15 minutes. And while I'm doing that, I'm listening to an audio. And then while I'm stretching, I should say, I do self-talk. And then when I'm done with that, I'll do a little spiritual reading. I'll do gratitude, 3 gratitude, so the gratitude list, and then a little creative visual meditation. So that gets me pretty fired up. After a routine like that in the morning, I'm pretty fired up, right? So I look forward to it. It's kind of like that little private time. It's that, the rest of the day kind of can go crazy, but I start out right. I should mention that, before any of that, I pray. But yeah, I mean, so start out right and the day goes well. If there's days where I don't quite get what I'm supposed to get done, what I want to get done, my day isn't always that great. So start out right.
No, I love that. And last couple things. Tell us what do you have going on promotion wise? What does the audience need to know about? How can we best contact you? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I don't actually have a promotion because I believe in just adding value. So I would say, if you're listening to my voice and you're seeing this and you feel like some of this resonated, reach out to me. Best way to get me is on LinkedIn. I would definitely mention that you got to see us on the show here. Got to hear me talk on the show. LinkedIn's best way. I think if you type in Steve Spiro, I come up first. Kind of proud of that. But you could also go to stevespiro.com. And on there will be a bunch of links, including my speaker website, which is spiro-global.com. Or it'll also take you to LinkedIn. It'll also show you my new sizzle reel, which I'm, again, very proud of as well. Yeah, I would love to connect and look to add value for you. Look to be a blessing to you. I mean, I'm going to ask you your story. I was on a call today. It was baffling to me, quite frankly. Nice lady, but on a messaging, she was trying to sell me. And I'm like, I don't get on sales calls. I don't get pitched, but I definitely would love to get to know you. She says, well, only if it's professional. Well, I'm not looking to date you. I didn't say that, but I mean, just so, I kind of had a feeling it was going to go like this. I said, sure. Yeah. Again, I wasn't looking to do anything crazy. I'm happily married. So when we get on, I said, hey, I like to start a call by saying, I love to hear your story, your journey, not just what you do, but the born and raised, the whole 9 yard. I'll give you my story and journey. We'll go from there. And she's like, well, like I said before, my message, I don't, I keep it professional. So in other words, she started their story professionally. And so I asked her, so were you born and raised here, another country? Yes, both. I wouldn't say where. Okay. Well, okay. So I'm going to ask for your story. I'd love to hear your story and hopefully, and then I told her mine and I went into all of it, right? The bullied, where I'm born, raised, wife, black, everything, right? Not my it includes my professional history, but it's my story, right? And I told her, I said, listen, if you're looking to connect, and this is the weird thing, is what she said to me. She said, if we met at a mall in person, then I would tell you more about me. So I'm thinking to myself, I've met people that way. Obviously, we're meeting 3 strangers every day. People are more skeptical when you meet them out and about on the street because they think, this guy, who is this guy? He could be some scam artist. But when you're on LinkedIn, you could see my profile. You could see everything about me. So I'm not a scam artist. So what's that all about? So I said to her, I don't understand that. People typically have better trust when they connect with you on LinkedIn. Then you meet somebody, a stranger, right on the, in a mall. They could be, a serial killer or whatever. You don't know, right? Yeah. So anyway, but I found that interesting. So back to your question. Sorry, I got a little distracted. But best way to reach me through LinkedIn, and let's connect. And I definitely want to hear your story. I'll tell you a little more about my background and always looking to add value and see how it could be a blessing.
No, I love that. Yeah, thanks for showing us again, once again, like, yes, you're gonna meet a lot of people, but it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And so it's you get the whole experience, but that's how you grow in many ways. So yeah, last question before we end today is, what's one takeaway you want someone to have from this interview today?
Yeah, I would say this. I would say don't be afraid to be vulnerable, right? Don't be afraid. Trust me. Now, granted, if you're in the middle of something that's really painful for you right now, you don't have to share that, but be vulnerable, show something because you'll see how much it'll break barriers down and you'll have the ability, the connections will be stronger. And by not hiding behind those things and blocking those things, you're going to find how more confident you are. Because, what my mentor would say to me, he would say, Steve, there's something wrong with you. Probably a lot of things wrong with me. But what he was trying to say was, and he couldn't put his finger to it, but it was me just being so stoic and so blocked off that it was hard to connect with me. And once I sort of kind of started to get healed and became vulnerable and shared those weaknesses and vulnerabilities, the connections came. So I recommend be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to share some things about your background and some of the things you've dealt with, because everyone has a story, right? Your mess will become your message, right? Your test will be your testimony, right? And those are cliche phrases today, but there's so much truth in it, right? These things become cliches because they're true. Often they're very true. So that's my recommendation. Be yourself, be vulnerable. Don't be afraid that. Don't hide some of those things from other people. Share it, right?
I love that. Well, thank you again, Steve, for all your wisdom today. And then for those listening audibly, make sure to check out Steve Spiro. Spiro is how you spell his last name. He's the master connector. And so definitely worth connecting with him. That's why I love bringing him on the show today. So thank you again for coming on. And we'll see you all next week for the next episode of Rapid Results. Take care, everyone.
I appreciate it.